Welcome back to TMZ Live. If you had any doubts about how much the Brett Kavanaugh hearings have divided the country and enraged some people, this should clear that up. It is still a big issue for people because we broke the story this morning. A man was arrested in Long Island for making death threats against two senators who supported Brett Kavanaugh during the hearings. And the person they arrested, his name is Ronald DeRisi. And according to the FBI, he made dozens of calls to the two senators, left voicemails, very threatening. He described his weapon.
He was talking about a 9mm side of your blanking face. I mean, he repeated
described his weapon,
multiple voicemails on two senators' phones, both in their field offices in their states, as well as their Washington, D.C. Capitol Hill offices. And this guy meant business, and it was the same voice on all of these. So two senators, their lives threatened with guns for supporting.
Because they supported Brett Kavanaugh.
Supporting Brett Kavanaugh.
And it's by the way, the FBI were able to track down DeRisi because he used a prepaid cell phone, but he bought it with his debit card. Not bright, but whoever said criminals were. So he has been arrested and charged with threatening the lives of two senators.
It brings up something interesting. Yeah. There is a very interesting senatorial race in Ohio where this very issue of domestic violence that came up in the Brett Kavanaugh hearing is coming up in Ohio.
Yes, Congressman Jim Renacci is running for Senate now in Ohio.
He's a congressman currently.
Yes, and his opponent, he says that he has been getting flooded with calls because he says his opponent, who is the current Senator Sherrod Brown, he has a domestic violence history. So joining us right now is Congressman Renacci. Congressman, welcome to TMZ Live. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me.
So I know you have been. I know you've put out ads and you've been reminding people that your opponent has this history. And I guess it all dates back to a divorce he went through in the '80s, where his now ex-wife claimed that he had abused her
and got a restraining order against him.
Well, absolutely. There was a restraining order, and then he actually violated the restraining order at one point in time, too. So this is an issue that came up because of the Kavanaugh trial. Let's face it, there was a standard of conduct set for unsubstantiated claims, and here we have almost 3 years of substantiated court documents. And again, you don't get grandfathered in for this type of issue, and that's the real problem here, and one of the reasons why it's come up in this race.
So, how has that resonated in Ohio? Given the incredibly toxic Senate Judiciary hearing on Kavanaugh, how are people reacting to it? Because it puts Democrats in an interesting position.
Well, it sure does, and the problem is most people were not aware of it. So, as I've traveled the state, and even I wasn't aware of it. Look, I've been in Ohio for 35 years. And until the Me Too movement came up, I was not aware of it either. Until the Kavanaugh hearing came up, which opened the eyes to many people, I was not aware of it either. So people are now learning that Senator Brown did have 3.5 years, 3 years, whatever the total years were, of documented court abuse affidavits. And again, people understand that this is not something that can be accepted. And again, as I said, it should not be grandfathered in.
In your race, how is President Trump factoring in?
Well, President Trump has been a big supporter of mine. I came out in support of him early on during the Ohio primary because I'm a business guy. I'm someone who was fed up with Washington and what was going on there. So I wanted to see a change. I'm glad to see the changes he's making, the growth in the economy, all those positive things. He came out and endorsed me. He's been a supporter of mine. And people know that. But again, I heard you say earlier, we are a divided country, and Ohio's a divided state.
Congressman, I am not trying to put you on the spot here, but there's something that happened last night.
We've been talking about it.
I'm going to be really honest. It really upset me. When Trump gave a speech in Mississippi.
Montana.
Montana. And this is where the now congressman had apparently body slammed a reporter, and President Trump really embraced that last night.
He made a joke about it.
He made a joke. I think we have it. Can we play the bite here?
Yeah.
Greg is smart. And by the way, never wrestle him. You understand that? Never. Any guy that can do a body slam, he's my kind.
Personally, that really bothered me.
Well, look, the president was in to see me last. He was in a rally for in Ohio last week. I saw the pictures. I was actually standing there next to him, and I talked about the great things he's done. I don't. There's many times I don't like what he says, and I would not agree with what he says or what he does, but I do agree with the direction he's taken our economy, and I think we need to look at that. I tell people, look, whether you don't like what he says or you don't like some of the comments he makes or some of the tweets he makes, you've got to love the direction our country's going with growth, wage rates going up, unemployment down, the job market, all the things, and even what he's doing when it comes to, across the globe with dealing with some of those individuals that want to harm our country. So let's look at those positives. I'm not going to tell you that I agree with a lot of things, his tweets and some of the things he said, nor would I probably do the same thing, but I do applaud what he's doing.
Congressman, does it come up on the campaign trail? It sounds like what you were describing is that you sometimes have to have those discussions with voters while you're campaigning, that they ask you about things that the president has said.
Well, absolutely. There's many times they'll say, can you stop him from tweeting? Can you? And
Yeah. Well, and you're like, hey, I'm just a congressman. I hope to be senator, but how could you possibly stop him from doing that? No one's been able to.
No, and by the way, I've been in the car with him. I've talked to him. I've told him that there's some concerns. But look, he beat 17 other individuals in a Republican primary and won the presidency by doing what he's doing. And I think in the end, that's what his answer would be. He's going to continue to do what he believes necessary to change the direction of our country. And again, I love the direction of our country. I don't know how anybody who even doesn't like his tweets or some of the things he says can't like the direction our country's going. And that's what I try and make sure people say and think.
You say something interesting because, there are a lot of things that are happening in the country that are good right now. But there are also people who say that the messaging and our status is determined in part by the message that the president sends out, and that is hurting us long term. I'm wondering how you react to that.
Well, look, I'm a results guy. I was a business guy for 28 years. I believe in results. Let's continue to see what the results are. I think so far the results have been good. I think in the long run, let's continue to see what they are. Let's see what happens in 2020. I do think we'll have a president that gets reelected based on results. And then we'll look back at what he said or done and look to the future of where we're going. But again, all presidents are going to do things different. We had President Obama. We had past presidents who said things. I still remember the day, I grew up in Western Pennsylvania where President Obama said that everybody in Western Pennsylvania clings to their Bibles and their guns. That was kind of a low point in a comment that he made about some of my family members. So I never forget that either.
Okay.
All right.
Well, look, we really appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much. It's a race everybody's watching.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.